Well, amen. We're here. And we're in the book of Hosea this evening. The book of Hosea. Hey, stop that. Yelling at me. Hosea chapter 2 and 3 this evening we're going to get through. Believe it or not. All right. So Hosea, the prophet, who's called to prophesy to the northern kingdom of Israel. This was back in the 700s BC, about 150 years before Daniel, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah and those major prophets. The kingdom had been divided, with Judah in the south, where Jerusalem was. And then you had the northern 10 tribes of the kingdom of Israel. And they were in the north. And now Hosea is raised up in the last days to Israel, the 10 tribes of Israel. He's raised up to minister to them. He's there when they are taken away. He's the last prophet before they were invading, and they were invaded in 722 BC. And they were scattered around the whole Assyrian Empire. They were scattered everywhere. So today we call them the 10 lost tribes of Israel. And we still don't know where they're at. Only God knows where the 10 tribes, the 10 lost tribes of Israel are to this day. But you know what? He's going to bring them back. He's been bringing them back and bringing them back into the land of Israel in the last days. So God still sends this prophet to them, even though they're on that road of destruction, just not doing things the way they should be. They're unrepentant, stiff-necked people, but God still loves them and sends a prophet to them because he is a God of grace and a God of love and a God of mercy. And we all know that. Now, Hosea has an interesting calling in his life, which we looked at last week. You know, God called Hosea to marry a prostitute, a woman of the night. And he's going to use this in Hosea's life and the story of him married to Hosea to minister to his people, to show the people of Israel that that's what they're doing to God. Because God is like, Israel is his wife, and they are committing adultery on him. They're going out on him. They're messing around on him. Okay? Now, it's chapter 1, we looked at it last week. He marries Gomer, a woman of reputation, and she has 3 kids. Oh, why don't I get Miss Lydia back? She has 3 kids. One she named Jezreel. It's a place where no good was done. The kings had done awful things there. Maybe. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. We're going to take the young ones out since we're talking about adultery and prostitutes. Mommy, what's a prostitute? Jezreel, a place where no good was done, and the nation was shamed by the actions of the kings and the people. Then one of the kids' name was Ruhamah, which means no mercy, because God was not going to have mercy on them, because they went so far and they walked so far away, and they just unrepentant, not going to walk with the Lord. They just want nothing to do with him. So God says, name the child no mercy. And then the third child was Lo Ami, which is about as low as you can get. Not my people. You are not my people anymore. I have no mercy for you. I've had it. I've been giving you hundreds of years to get it together, and you haven't got it together at all. So because of the actions of the people, there will be no mercy. You are not my people. But then we get to chapter 2, and verse 1 is, a good verse. It says, say to your brothers, Ami, and to your sisters, Ruhamah. I just stopped there. We looked at that last week as they ended our study last week. Because remember the children were named Lo Ruhamah, and Lo Ami, which meant no. Lo means no mercy, and no, you are not my people. And now we look at this, and their names are now Ami and Ruhamah, which means mercy, and you are my people. So even though God, they're going to suffer because of the actions and the sin in their life, there is consequences and suffering, when there's sin in our lives. But he's still going to have mercy, and they're still going to be his people. He's going to be faithful to them. He's going to bring them back around, but not right now. They're going to have some problems before that time, okay? So, verse 2 then. So he just said, say to your brothers Ami and Ruhamah, okay? Contend with your mother, contend, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband, and let her be put away. Let her put away her adultery from her face, and her adultery from between her breasts. See, by this time, Gomer is playing around with other men. She's just messing around. She's betraying her husband, and God is showing them, hey, I have the heart of a husband, and this is what you're doing to me. He's making this picture. This is what it feels like to me when a spouse goes out on you and the pain that causes. That's what when you commit spiritual adultery with idols and other gods, that's how I feel. That's what he's saying here. God has a plan for their life, and they're choosing idols and other lovers. So then in verse 3, he continues on and says, or I will strip her naked and expose her as on the day when she was born. I will also make her like a wilderness, make her like a desert land, and slay her with thirst. So God's telling them, tell your mother, tell her to turn around before it's too late. And he's saying, Israel, turn around before it's too late. Before you're going to be a desert place. You're going to be thirsty. You're going to be ruined. You're going to be in a dirty and waterless place. And what a message to the people, to turn around and to seek their God. And a message to those of us who start to play around in the world today. Turn around and seek your God, or you're going to end up in a dry, desert place. You're just not going to be in a good place at all. It'll ruin your life. So turn around before it's too late. And verse 4 says, also I have no compassion on her children, because they are the children of idolatry, of harlotry. They are his kids, but you know what? He doesn't really know if they are. She's messing around all the time, so in his mind, he's got to go, I wonder if this is really my children she has. Just look at how much she plays around. That thought would cross his mind. So he says there, I don't have no compassion on her children because they are children of harlotry. They might not even be my kids. I'm not going to have any compassion for them. There is a spiritual principle here when you read this, and it's this. Our backsliding, our turning away from the Lord, not walking with the Lord, hurts our children. It's a spiritual principle here. It hurts our kids. And the other side of that is our commitment to the Lord helps our children. They need that example. Now, I know there's parents who have raised their kids in the Lord, and they're good parents, and they've raised them, and the kids go wild. And I've seen the other where terrible parents and the kids walk with the Lord. So there are other circumstances. But we do have a place in our children's lives that will either hurt them or help them. And those of you who have kids, you know it. I don't have to tell you that. So verse 5, he tells them, for your mother has played the harlot, she who conceived them has acted shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers, who give me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, my oil and my drink. So by now she's moved out and she's living with these other guys. And one after another. She keeps switching around, it sounds like. And she says, they will take care of me. They're going to supply what I need in my life. And she gives them credit for God's provision in her life. She gives them the credit. God would bring rain, and Israel would give the credit to Baal, to their idol. God would bless them, and they would give credit to Baal in their lives. You see, the Israelites were focused on going after the material things in the world, just seeking after the things of the world and not after God. And that's where their focus was at that time. They was focused on stuff. So in verse 6 and 7 it says, therefore, behold, I will hedge up her way with thorns, and I will build a wall against her so she cannot find her paths. She will pursue her lovers, but she will not overtake them. And she will seek them, but will not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my first husband, for it was better for me then than now. See, she's not going to be satisfied going after the things she's going after. And Israel isn't satisfied with the things they go after because they are missing their God while they go after all these things. You see, material things aren't going to bring you the pleasures and the joy of life when you think that they do. Temporarily, yeah, they make you feel good for a little while, but they're not going to give you the satisfaction you're looking for. It only comes from the Lord. You know, on Sunday mornings we're going to Philippians, and the joy of the Lord is my strength. I mean, we want the joy of the Lord. You don't find it in the world. You find it in the Lord. So she is going to go after these things and these guys, and he's saying, you're not ever going to get them. You're not going to get them. You know what? People that go after stuff, they always want a little bit more. And everybody knows people are going after stuff, or even in your own life when you see when you do that, you always just need a little bit more. If only I could do this, I would be happy. If only that would happen, I would be happy. If only I could get this job, and these people would treat me this way, or whatever, then I would be happy. I remember, when I was seeking God in my earlier years, and I was really wanting to know who the Lord was, and unfortunately the path that I took to try to get there was drugs. And there was one drug in particular that we would take, was called LSD. And it was this psychedelic drug, and you imagine things, and hallucinated, and just crazy. It was very demonic. And you would get, and when you would take a trip, I got this point where I was taking LSD because I wanted to find God. And I would get closer, as the drug would be more powerful on me, because it starts off slow, and you gets more powerful, and you're going, wow, and I'm going to find God now, I'm going to find God, and boom! And then it'll go, poof, and you start coming down, and you never got there. I can remember when I take that drug, it's like, I write down songs, I write down words, wow, this is it, man, crystal ships, there, I'm going to find God, and poof! And then the drop off, and never got there. It never filled that hole in me. I never found God in that. And until I found Jesus really and surrendered my life to Him, I didn't know. I didn't know all that was vain, and I never got there. And people do that with stuff in their life. They do that with relationships in their life. They do that with jobs, with money, with music, with sports, all kinds of things. So she's seeking after this, and she's realizing it was better with her husband in the first place. Had it better there, like the prodigal son. Would I be better off if I went back and was a slave with my dad and worked in the fields? And then the prodigal son repented and turned and went home. And when he found a loving father with his arms open, wide open. Wide open love. Found a dad with open arms, just like the Lord. And any of you have strayed and went away from the Lord, and you come back, He's got those arms wide open. I used to share it like this. It's like He follows you around like this. And we run. Turn around. You get so tired of running, okay, I surrender. You get so sick of your sin and your life and yourself. You just say, I surrender, Lord, I need you, I want you. And you get to that point, He's got His arms wide open. See, He'll use the stuff. He'll use the trials. He'll use the relationships to get your attention. He uses that junk. Acts chapter 3, verse 19 says, therefore repent and return so that your sins may be wiped away in order that times of refreshing may come from the presence of the Lord. Did you hear that? Repent and return so your sins are wiped away and you find times of refreshing. Doesn't that sound good? That sounds like sitting out by a stream somewhere, on a nice 80 65-degree day or 82 or something like that, with your toes in the water, with a nice glass of iced tea or lemonade. You like that? Oh, with water. Times of refreshing. I mean, we need times of refreshing. Turn to the Lord to get them. Well, and then verse 8 it says, in Hosea, it says, for she does not know that it was I who gave her the grain, the new wine, and the oil, and lavished on her silver and gold, which they used for Baal. See, while all this is going on, and Gomer is living with all these guys, it's apparent, it looks like here, that Hosea is paying her way. God has him paying the way. Go to the guy, give him some money, make sure she's taken care of. But don't let him know it's you. So the guy's taking care of it, all these guys take care of it. He's paying for it. You know, today we say, what a fool. From a worldly point of view, but when God's in it, it's not foolish at all. Because he's painting a picture here. He's showing them, Israel, I've been taking care of you. I let the sun shine on you. I let it rain on you. Your crops grow because of me. I blessed you. And he would say that to you and I today. Our lives are in his hands. His hands. She didn't know it was from her husband. It's kind of like this on a personal level. That, you know, something that we do, you know, and we walk out and say, look what we did. Instead of, you know, look what the Lord has done. And giving glory to the Lord. I find that interesting, you know, that the Lord tells this guy to marry a prostitute and then take care of her when she's living with other guys. God's full of grace and mercy. Well, verse 9 through 12, therefore, I will take back my grain at harvest time and my new wine in its season. I will also take away my wool and my flax, given to cover her nakedness. And then I will uncover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one will rescue her out of my hand. I will also put an end to all her gaiety, her feasts, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her festival assemblies. I will destroy her vines and fig trees, of which she said, these are my wages, which my lovers have given me, and I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field will devour them. She's going to go down. His wife's going to go down. But he's speaking to Israel. I'm taking away your holidays, your land. The land's going to be barren. You're going down. It's going to happen. You think it's them taking care of you? No. God is withdrawing his hand of protection. And you know what? And the Lord does that. I've seen the Lord do that in my life. I've seen him do it in people's lives. Where, you know what? If we are so bent on doing what we want to do, we just want, you know, I just want to go do my own thing, and this, God will say, okay, I just lift my hands up, go for it. It's almost like he takes his hand of protection off you, and you're sitting up for the enemy. The enemy comes in and slaughters you. And says, that's what you want, man. Because he doesn't force his will on us. He lifts his hands up. And I don't want God lifting his hands off me. I want to be in that. I want to be under those wings. You know, like that chick, you know, under his mother's wings. That's where I want to be. Because it's too nasty out there for the Lord to lift his hands up. But he'll do it. He'll let the enemy have his way with you. And then you'll be sorry. I remember that one time I given my life to the Lord, and God had delivered me from drugs and alcohol, and it was like I'm married, and you know, and I was walking with the Lord and reading the Word, and then one day I, you know, found some pot, and I said, I wonder what that's like. Well, I know what I smoked it, and then it's like I just felt like the Lord just went, okay, he lifted his hands up, and the enemy just attacked me. I was so miserable. I mean, he was going, you hurt this person when you were 5 years old. You hurt this person when you were 7. My whole life. And he attacked me every wrong thing I did in my life. I was like, oh, no. I'm calling people on the phone saying, no, I'm sorry I did that. Like, what? That was 20 years ago. I want God's hands on. So Gomer is going to go down, and Israel is going to go down. And in verse 13 it says, I will punish her for the days of the Baals. When she used to offer sacrifices to them and adorn herself with her earrings and jewelry and follow her lovers so that she forgot me, declares the Lord. You know, it must have been humiliating for Hosea to have married this wife. And how many people around town knew he was still taking care of her? And you know, can you see him? He comes into the shopping center or into the square of where we hung out and go, hey, Hosea, saw your wife with Joe the other day. You know what they're doing? You know? I mean, how humiliating for him. It's how humiliating it is for the Lord when we don't walk with him. When Israel didn't walk with him, you know, and it's embarrassing for them. These are my children. These are my kids. And look what they do. Forgetting her husband Hosea. Wow, what a terrible thing. And then, verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her, bring her into the wilderness, and speak kindly to her. The grace of God. You know, instead of going, I'm going to hang her from a tree and bury her, I'm going to speak kindly to her. See, God's plan here is to take her out into the wilderness, into a dry place where there is nothing, where there's no distractions, and speak kindly to her and to love her. Just to tell her he loves her. And she will be blessed and she will be restored. And that's what the Lord wants to do with every one of us. And then he goes on and says, then I will give her vineyards from there in the valley of Achor as a door of hope. And she will sing there as in the days of her youth, as in the day when she came up from the land of Egypt. It will come about in that day, declares the Lord, and you will call me Ishi, and will no longer call me Baal. Ishi means husband. I'm going to take you out of this desert. I'm going to minister to you. I'm going to love on you. And you are going to call me husband again. You see, Baal means master. He's not going to be her master, you know, over her, the husband over her. He's going to be her husband, one who cares for her and loves her. He's going to restore her life again to her. That's the plan he's going to have for Gomer. That's the plan he has for Israel. And that's the plan that he has for every one of us. See, he's got that plan for Israel when they're in disbelief and they're not walking with him and they've turned their back on him, and he still has this plan for them. Even when they've gone astray, he has planned for them and their children. And us. And you know what? If we don't turn, we're just asking for a bruising. We're asking if we're going to get it. Then 17. For I will remove the names of the Baals from her mouth, so that they will be mentioned by their names no more. In that day I will also make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, the birds of the sky, and the creeping things of the ground, and I will abolish the bow and the sword and war from the land, and I will make them lie down in safety. See, he's going to talk about a future time now, a time that, you know, we're close to right now. He's going to talk about the end times here in the scripture. A time when you'll make a covenant with nature, when, you know, the lion lays down with the lamb, there's not going to be war anymore. He's telling them what the future is when he's going to restore them. You see, Israel hasn't been restored yet. They're being restored right now. And when Israel is restored, it'll be glorious. As a matter of fact, you know, let's look at that in Isaiah chapter 11. Turn there, you look at verses 6 through 12. Isaiah 11, 6 through 12. When he talks about that time when Israel will be restored, when those 10 tribes will come together again, and they will be a people again. And he says this in starting verse 6 of Isaiah chapter 11, and the wolf will dwell with the lamb, and the leopard will lie down with the young goats, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little boy will lead them. Also the cow and the bear will graze, their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The nursing child will play by the hole of the cobra, and the weaned child put his hand on the viper's den. They will not hurt or destroy all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the water covers the sea. Then in that day the nations will resort to the root of Jesse, who will stand as a signal for the peoples, and his resting place will be glorious. Then it will happen on that day that the Lord will again recover the second time with his hand the remnant of his people who remain from Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam, Shinar, Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he will lift up a standard for the nations, and assemble the banished ones of Israel, and will gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. See, that's that time that he's talking about here in Hosea, when they will be restored, and have their land again, and he will be their God, and Jesus will be ruling over them. This is going to happen. And it's not only happening just for them, it will happen for the whole world. Because the whole world is a mess right now. At that time, the whole world will be restored. You know, I mean, can you just see out the baby out there hanging with fertile ants, you know? Yeah, wrapping on his neck, playing with it. Yeah. Then Isaiah 2:4, it talks about it, and it says, "And he will judge between the nations, and will render decisions for many peoples, and they will hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, and never again will they learn war." That's what he's talking about here in Hosea. And there'll be war no more. The world is crying for peace right now, today. And the world has been crying for peace, and Israel has been crying for peace. These people try to have peace in their land, and the world will not let them have peace. Israel cannot have peace. All they want to do is live peaceably and have no war in Israel in their land, and nobody in the world will let them have it. They turn against them. They say they don't do anything. They get bombed, and when they reciprocate, they turn around and say, "Israel, you're the ones killing people." But when he returns, they will have peace. And not until Jesus comes back. Then verse 19, he says, "I will betroth you to me forever." You know, if you ever hear me talk about, I believe that Israel kind of represents God's wife, where we are the bride of Jesus. This is where I get it from. Because he's talking to Israel here when he says, "I will betroth you to me forever. I will marry you forever." He's talking to Israel. "Yes, I will betroth you to me in righteousness and in justice, in loving kindness and in compassion. And I will betroth you to me in faithfulness. Then you will know the Lord. It will come about in that day that I will respond, because the Lord, I will respond to the heavens, and they will respond to the earth. And the earth will respond to the grain, and to the new wine, and to the oil, and they will respond to Jezreel. I will sow her for myself in the land. I will also have compassion on her who had not obtained compassion. I will say to those who are not my people, you are my people, and they will say, you are my God." Even Jezreel will be restored. Jezreel, the place where the kings committed just terrible acts. And Jezreel, where the battle of Armageddon will happen, he's going to restore it. It will be a good place. Now, we are seeing that happen right now today in our lives. We're seeing Israel's come back to the land in 1948. They're flourishing. They're doing well. But they're not completely restored yet. They don't know who their God is yet. But, they're being set up. It's getting to that point now. And there's coming that day when there will be peace there again. Okay? They're trying, like I said, they're trying to live in their land in peace, and there is none. The world will not let them alone. The world has no compassion for the Jews. I talk to many Christians, because what news station they watch on TV. Oh, those Jews are terrible people. Well, what station you watch on TV? Don't you see what God's word says? We're to support them and love them and be behind them. And when you know the real truth, you go, the enemy hates them. The world hates them. But when that day comes, they will be fully restored to the Lord. I can't wait to see that. They will be his people, and they will say, "You are my God." And they don't do that now. They don't know their God right now. They don't know Jesus is the Messiah. They don't know that. So God has great plans for his people. But it's going to take a great tribulation before it happens. The great tribulation will happen first. Well, we're going to look at this chapter 3 real quick, just these 5 verses. And they were pretty quick. Because it's going to talk about Hosea's second symbolic marriage. It says, then, chapter 3, verse 1, then the Lord said to me, go again, love a woman who is loved by her husband, yet an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the sons of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love raisin cakes. Raisin cakes had to do with idols and stuff, and certain idols and things like that. That's why that's in there. Then he says this. He's telling her, go find her again. Go find her and love her. So verse 2, I bought her for myself for 15 shekels of silver and a homer and half a barley. He went and bought her off the slave lot. She had went so low, she wasn't even living with these guys anymore. She was now a slave, and he paid 15 shekels of silver and a homer and a half a barley, which is a very, very cheap price, because slaves in those days went for 30 shekels. She was so low and disgusting, people could hardly give her away. 15 shekels. Half the price for a slave. He bought her back. And in verse 3, then I said to her, you shall stay with me for many days. You shall not play the harlot, nor shall you have a man, so I will also be toward you. You see, he didn't buy her as a slave. He bought her back as his wife. So she's not a slave any longer. He's restoring her to himself as his wife, giving her that place in his home. And what Jesus is going to do, God's going to do for Israel, and what he does for us. He bought us for a price. And then the last 2 verses here, for the sons of Israel will remain for many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred pillar, and without ephod or household idols. Afterwards, the sons of Israel will return and seek the Lord their God and David their king, and they'll come trembling to the Lord and to his goodness in the last days. And he gives us that prophecy there in verse 4 and 5. They're going to be many days without their king. They haven't had a king. They haven't had a king. They haven't had their sacrifices because they haven't had their temple. But afterwards they will return and they'll have it again. And that could happen. You know what? Jesus could come back anytime, rapture us out of the end time. I feel like we're living in the end times. And as we look at these 2 chapters, you know, one message that I would see that the Lord would have for us in this is this. It's time for us to set the world aside and to follow Jesus. If we're in the world and caught up in the world and things of the world, you know, to set it aside and follow Jesus. Because he loves us. He has a great plan for our lives. And why do we mess around so much all the time? I don't know. But I want to walk with the Lord. I want my last days on this earth, if he doesn't come before I die, to count for him and his kingdom. Because that's all that really matters. So let's pray. Also, while we're praying, I want to pray for Frank, your brother. Miss Lydia's brother has a brain tumor. And we're going to pray for a good CAT scan, a clear CAT scan, right? That's what we're praying for. So we want to pray for him. That's why Miss Lydia's here. She's been here helping out with him for a couple weeks. So, Lord, we want to come before you this evening. Lord, first of all, we want to pray for Frank. Father, we want to pray for healing in his brain, Lord, and restore him back to normal, Lord, and he can talk and he can just be normal again, Father. So we're praying, he's praying, Lord. The sentence that came out of him was, pray for a clean CAT scan, Lord. So that's what we're praying for right now. That you would restore his health to him, Lord, physically, and Lord, just draw him close to you as he goes through this, and the family, as they're going through this together, Lord, just let them sit at your feet and be close to you, Father, during this time, Lord. And thank you for your word tonight. Lord, I pray for us that we would be seeking you out in our lives, and what you have and your plan you have for our lives, Lord, and not be messing in the world, Father. I pray for those that are not here this evening with us, Lord, and whatever they're doing, Lord, you bless them, Lord, and minister to them, Lord, and bring them back out next week, Lord. And pray that they hear this message tonight, but Lord, in their hearts, they will just be following you and just serving you with their whole lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you, oh my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you hear. Let it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. Amen. God bless you guys. We do need to put the chairs up tonight.